Snowflakes were falling heavily over the silent pine forest when Claire Anderson stepped out of her white SUV. The evening sky was fading into a bluish-gray shade, the kind of color that made the world feel colder than it already was. Her leather boots pressed into deep snow as she stood in the isolated woodland road, stretching her arms after a 7-hour business drive from Chicago toward Minnesota. She was exhausted, mentally scattered from board meetings and negotiation calls when suddenly she noticed something unusual, something small, unmoving, and standing alone in the cold. It was a little girl. The child was wearing a red winter dress, her cheeks pink from the freezing air, and snow sat gently over her soft, curly hair. Claire's heartbeat paused for a second. It wasn't normal to see a child alone on a road like this. Viewers watching this, before we continue, hit like, comment, subscribe, and share if you believe kindness, second chances, and humanity still exist in this world. Your support keeps stories like these alive. Claire walked toward her with gentle steps, almost afraid the small figure might vanish if she blinked. The little girl looked frightened, trembling not just from cold, but from something deeper. Her tearful eyes lifted toward Claire when Claire slowly knelt in front of her. Without even being asked, the little girl whispered in a cracked, weak voice, "Ma'am, please help. I lost my daddy." Claire froze, breathing sharply. The forest seemed to close in around them. The little girl sniffed and rubbed her arms as if trying to feel warm, her red dress too thin for a winter evening. Claire asked her name, and the girl answered, "My name is Harper." She was too young to know danger, too innocent to know that cold could steal breath, and too trusting in a world that could be cruel. Claire didn't know why it hit her so deeply, perhaps because she had lost her mother at the same age. That memory awakened something buried inside her. Harper said she and her father were traveling when their car skidded somewhere off the road. Her father went to find help in the woods, but he never returned. She got scared and walked out, hoping someone might see her from the road. Claire looked around, disturbed by the thick trees standing like dark giants, hiding secrets beneath their stillness. She pulled off her wool coat and wrapped it around Harper, even though the wind stung her arms. The moment she stood again, Harper pointed toward a narrow pathway leading into the woods, saying, "He went that way, but I'm scared. He didn't come back." Claire didn't think twice. She locked her SUV and lifted Harper into her arms. Snow sank under each step, and breath turned into smoke. Cold bit through her clothes, and tree branches brushed her hair as she walked. Harper clung to her tightly, burying her face into Claire's sweater, shivering uncontrollably. Claire whispered something comforting even though her voice shook. She worried. What if Harper's father was hurt? What if he was unconscious? The woods seemed darker the deeper they went, and the wind hissed through the branches. Minutes passed that felt like hours. Claire's boots slipped over frozen patches, yet she never stopped. Suddenly, Harper pointed ahead, a faint shape in the snow. Claire stepped faster and saw a fallen man lying against the trunk of a tree. His breath was shallow, his hand partially frozen, and his coat opened from the chest. Frost covered his beard, and snowflakes clung to his eyelashes. Harper gasped and tried to reach him. Claire set the child down and checked his pulse. It was weak, but there was life. Claire took Harper's scarf, too thin, but something, and wrapped it tighter around him. Harper tried to wake him, touching his face, whispering, "Daddy, please get up." Hearing her tiny voice broke something inside Claire. Claire lifted her phone, trying for a signal, but service was gone. Only cold silence answered. Panic rose. She had once survived loneliness after her mother's passing. Now, loneliness seemed ready to steal them too. She knew freezing could take a person within minutes. She leaned closer to him. His name tag on a backpack read, Travis Miller. He needed heat, shelter, help, fast. Claire lifted Harper again, then leaned down and grabbed Travis by the jacket. Snow resisted, dragging weight, but Claire pushed with all her strength, pulling him across ice and roots. Her lungs burned. Harper cried, and Claire whispered, "It's okay. We're going to save him." After an agonizing struggle, Claire finally reached her car. She managed to get Travis into the back seat and blasted the heater at full temperature. Harper sat beside him, rubbing his hand. His eyes flickered open once, barely recognizing anything, but Harper smiled through tears, whispering, "Daddy, we found help." Claire felt tears forming in her own eyes. She dialed emergency services, finally catching a connection. Within 20 minutes, an ambulance reached them, flashing white and red lights against the cold forest road. Paramedics carried Travis, warming his body, checking his heart rate, and giving oxygen. Claire held Harper's hand tightly. At the hospital in Duluth, the air smelled of medicine, warmth, and distant hope. Travis remained unconscious but stable under heated blankets. Harper sat with her small legs hanging from the waiting room chair, her eyes swollen from crying. Claire waited with her, despite having a business flight scheduled in the morning. None of her meetings mattered anymore. Something had changed. A quiet connection had formed, something human and deeper than business deals or corporate wins. Later that night, doctors said Travis was responding. Harper ran into the room when they allowed visitors. Claire followed slowly, watching as Harper climbed into her father's arm and hugged him as if she would never let go again. Travis whispered a faint "thank you" toward Claire. His voice was weak, but the gratitude in his eyes was loud enough. Claire smiled softly, knowing she would remember this moment forever. A few days later, Travis recovered well enough to walk. Hospital bills were heavy, but Claire handled them discreetly because she knew Harper didn't deserve suffering. When Travis found out, he argued gently, but Claire insisted. She said Harper reminded her of her younger self, left alone, afraid, and wishing someone would show up. Travis couldn't speak after that. Silence carried the emotion his words could not. When they were finally discharged from the hospital, snow had melted into early morning dew. Birds were singing across the hospital garden. Harper ran toward Claire and hugged her repeatedly, promising she would never forget her. Claire didn't know why her heart softened so deeply, but she hugged that little girl as though she was holding something she had lost long ago. As Claire got ready to leave, Travis approached her again, standing with humility and gratitude. He said he had nothing but prayers to offer. Claire smiled and said prayers were enough. She sat in her car, paused a moment, and looked at both father and daughter standing side by side, safe and warm. Some people enter our lives briefly, yet change something permanently. That truth stayed with her. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, subscribe, and comment below. Stories like this reach millions only because you support goodness. Before ending, tell us in the comments, would you stop to help a stranger if you saw them alone in the cold? Claire drove into the sunrise, the road open ahead, but something inside her had already changed. The world felt softer, warmer, full of unseen miracles. And somewhere in Duluth, a little girl named Harper slept peacefully in her father's arms because someone chose kindness when it mattered.